Hello, 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 everyone. Good evening. Welcome back. Y'all been hanging out with me for a lot lately, and I am loving you all's company. Thank you
Hello,
for
JB.
coming out. Hey there,
Hey,
Miss
Emma.
Judy. Hey, Auntie Emma. How's it going? How's it going? So today we have a really special guest. We have Miss Eva, and I want to tell you so much that it is an honor to have you here because you are more than just an author of an extraordinary series. We're gonna get into the details about some of the stuff that you do when you're not writing, saving
Oh
our
my
souls.
God. Oh my God. I
Which I
remember
think
the first time. Remember the first time you read my book?
Yeah, and I always have to tell this story to people because it is such an integral part of how I came to this series and why I have stayed with it for so long. And I always call you a series of such a time as this.
Yes,
Series.
yes, you do.
And I'm going to explain to him because I say that a little bit more often now, but it's with the same reasons along the same lines. So we're gonna usher in some of our people here before we start to cutting up. Hey,
Okay.
there, Miss Maisha, so good to see you out
Maisha,
there.
Ola, Velva.
Hey, Ola, Velva, good to see you guys out there. Thank you so much for joining us on the Friday. So, okay, guys. So Miss Eva, why don't you tell a little bit about yourself? And then we're going to dive into this series in a little bit detail and the story that we're featuring today. But tell them just a little bit about you and who you are.
Okay, I'm Eva Brock, Eva J. Brock. I write under EJ Brock. I spent 40 years in logistics. That's a supply chain, which I absolutely loved doing that. But
Mm.
I'd always wanted to be an author. I wrote my first short story in the fifth grade many moons ago, and I won first place out of the entire school. But life, and I had to make some money, so I veered on off. And it wasn't until 2010 that I got laid off from my last job. And as the Lord spoke to me, He said, "Okay, now it's time to fulfill your dream." He said, "I got a story that I want you to tell. And I don't want you to write Christian fiction. I want you to write it for those lost sheep that feel like they are not worthy to come into my house.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to write this book and I want you to meet them where they are and bring them back in." So I said, "Okay, I think I could do that. The Lord with you, you can do anything." The first book I wrote was Brock's Redemption. And I got to chapter 18, and I still remember that. I'm still upset about it too. I got to chapter 18, and the whole book vanished off of my computer. And
Wow.
I worked in logistics and background in IT, so I knew all about computers. It just wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "Lord have mercy, I done lost this whole book." God said, "You didn't lose it. I took it because I told you I did not want you to write Christian fiction. I want you to write this story to bring my lost sheep in." And then he gave me the story that he wanted me to write. And I'd always been a prolific reader. And even though I like espionage, one of my favorite um, genres is paranormal. And I was absolutely hooked on J.R. Ward,
Mm-hmm.
uh, Christine, whatever her last name is, Janine. My Midnight. I gave you a bunch of their books, didn't I?
Yeah. I was gonna say, and I'm following all of those.
But one thing I noticed about those books that was missing from every paranormal that I read was the powerful black man.
And those are the words right there that captivated me when I first met you. Was
See,
those
because
right there.
listen, we were not the latter. We were the progenitors of the race. Okay,
Hmm.
I write about that. I write in a byline in a magazine about it, and I have my receipts to back it up.
Hmm.
So anyway, God said, yes, that's what I want you to write about. And then he tweaked my memory. One of my favorite books that's not in the Bible is Enoch.
Yeah,
And
you talked about
Enoch talks about the Nephilim, the children of the fallen angel, and how God used Enoch to usher them to another dimension right before the flood came.
that. Hmm.
And he said, that's where you start right there, what I did with those children. Now it's fiction, but you have to, I think Cinquetta, every time I say Cinquetta, that's fiction, she'll say, mm-hmm, if you say so.
Well,
Because
I think as a reader, though, we have come to realize that, especially with some of the, a lot of us read the same authors, and I think we've come to realize that in the fiction, there's a little bit of realism wrapped up in that
it's
fiction.
wrapped all around it. It's
Yeah.
wrapped all like that last book,
Hmm.
Samuel, the last book. You literally had to go to the Bible. You could follow that step by step. I walked you through it
Yeah.
while I told that story.
Yeah. So I have a story about that too. When I as I was reading that book too, it's a young lady at work. Her and I work well together. We had left. Her car was in the shop, and she was she asked me to go and take her to pick up her car. So we're
Uh-huh.
riding in the car, and I'm listening to the book, right?
To
And
Samuel.
to Samuel, and it got to the part about Adam and Eve. And
Uh-huh.
so, I mean, she was like literally captivated by that. And she started asking me questions. And I was like, well, I don't know if I am eloquent enough to tell this, but I got her caught on because, everybody knows the story, or we think we know the story of Adam and
Only
Eve.
what's in the Bible. Only
Right.
what's in, because I tell people all the time, and even it says it in the New Testament, that if every word was recorded, then the book would to be big for the earth to hold.
Hmm.
So I fill in the blank, and I tell the Bible study all the time, stop reading the Bible like these are fictional characters in books. These people had attitudes, put inflection on their voices when you read them. So
Oh, okay. Yeah.
when I told the story about Adam and Eve, I told from her perspective how pissed off she was.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So I mean, she really got into it to the point where I don't know if she purchased it yet. I'm trying to get her hooked into Kindles because she doesn't really read. But I'm trying to get her hooked on, reading so that she can maybe tap into some of the other
Yeah,
stories.
but tell her that the Kindle will read it to her too. She
Yeah,
can
that's
even
why I
put
got
it
to
to her
introduce her.
TV.
I'm trust me, I'm introducing her to the Kindle too. So it's baby steps with this one. But so let me tell you guys this story. And some of you may have heard this story before. I met Miss Eva, I don't even know how many years ago that was. But I do remember where I met you at. It was my first time going to Radia's urban fiction
Right.
event that she has every year in Milwaukee. It's a one-day event. We drive down there because from where I live, Milwaukee is like maybe 2 hours, if that. So it's
Hmm.
hop, skip, and a jump. We go down there, and I had never didn't know anything about Miss Eva. I think Sherelle Green and Angela Seals was there, so I didn't at least know two people there.
Hmm.
So when the time comes for us to walk around to the authors, no, before that time, each author got a chance to step up on the stage and kind of
Which
just
I
tell their
hate.
story.
Which I hate.
Oh, but let me tell you, I'm so glad you did that because I'm sitting out there and I'm a reader. I'm thinking I know, okay, this is going to be just a regular old author story. But when you,
Oh,
yeah,
oh,
not
Arthur.
old author, but you know what I mean. That's a fig.
I was old.
But when you said you wanted to tell a story where there were African American men highlighted in the story who were more than just what the world was telling us. And these are
Not
my
no
words,
pimp
not
up
yours.
and hold down, not no drug dealers,
Exactly.
not no gang bangers. It's absolutely right. And I'm not knocking that.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, but then you also said angels too. And that just
Mhm.
I was like, whoa, hold up, who is this person? And so I went to your table afterwards because we go, and typically what I do is when I go to an event, I usually support all the authors, whether or not I'm going to read the book, get to it right away or not. And so I was so captivated by your book. But when I got home, I was with a group of people who were in my reading circle that had, we were doing other things. And so I had to keep
Mhm.
pushing it back, keep pushing it back.
Mhm.
And I think I can't remember what drew me to it. It might
Three
have been
years later, I do
there
remember
was
it was
it
three
was
years
3 years
later.
later, but I think it was somebody who said, "Have you ever read this book before?" And I said, "I got that book." And I read it, and once it was Brock's Redemption,
Mhm.
and it was just like boom, one after another, right after another, right after another, right after another. And you know me, whenever you was showing up there, I was just grabbing up the books because when I love a series, and I feel like if they ever take my electronics away, there are
We're in
some
trouble.
books I just want to be able to grab off the shelf.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so that was me with you, and I
But I
always
remember what you said. You came into my folder and you said, I have had this book for 3 years.
yeah
And I read Brock's Redemption. 4 days later, I'm on book 4.
yeah. I
Said I
mean,
just
I
couldn't
was
stop.
I couldn't. I was gobbling them up. And I'm gonna tell you the one thing, if there is never anything that I gained from your books, this is one thing that I will always remember. I have been in and out of Sunday school, taught
Mhm.
Sunday school and everything, and I never really got a clear understanding of what spiritual warfare means to
Mhm.
me here on earth and what I go through every day. And from reading those books, I now think I have a really good understanding of it. And I've told you this just recently, and I thought I had told you this before. I had a situation where I had to go refer back to what some of the books had taught me because
Mhm.
I was in a spiritual warfare.
Right.
I
You
did
did
not
tell
let
me
it
that.
I didn't let it
Mhm.
take me down because I remembered. And what reminded me of when I was in my situation was the imps.
Spiritual
The imps, you know what
principalities.
I'm saying? So like when
Yes.
people have these addicts, and what they have, it's not, you can't really just say it's the person, it's just what is on them at the time. You
Right.
know what I mean?
It's
So it was
spirits.
yeah, but we're not gonna go down there because we could continue going down
But
that road.
I do remember that you called me. I'm trying to remember which book it was I wrote, and you said, "I no one has never explained that like you
Mhm.
did." When I told the story where, because a lot of people think that Jesus and God is the same person. I'm saying no, they're not.
Oh yeah. I
God
remember
is the
you said it
Father,
was. Yeah.
capital L, capital O, capital R, capital D.
Mhm.
Jesus is Lord, capital L, little O R D. Look in your Bible and see, ain't it wrote out that way? But anyway, when I told the story that when Jesus came up out of the water from being baptized, the Holy Spirit descended from heaven and landed on his shoulder. Then the heavens opened up, and God said, "This is my beloved Son, and
Mhm.
whom I'm well pleased." And I said, only time in the Bible we got all three parts of the Trinity in the same place at the same time, but separate. And you said, I ain't never seen it. I ain't never
Mhm.
heard it told that way.
Yeah.
And
I've
then,
I've grabbed a lot of life lessons from, reading your book. But now I will say that you have really done the thing with the series. And so I kind of want to dive in a little bit about this. Like, so you told us how you came, what inspired the story, how you got here. But now you write a series, you wrote the Spirit Mate series first,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have now where you have intertwined the Sanction Mate series.
Right.
And so for those of who don't know, it's still the same series, but they just kind
Mhm.
of, wrote in sections. What's the difference between a Spirit Mate and a Sanction Mate for those who
The
don't know?
spirit mates are the Nephilim. They are the children of the fallen angels.
Hmm.
I made them redeemable because I don't think God automatically sends anybody to hell because of their birth.
Hmm.
I think He gives you an option to choose Him. I was talking to some young lady today, and she was talking about Donald Trump and Joe Biden. I said, listen, baby, just like heaven and hell, ain't no middle ground.
Hmm.
And the bottom line is if you don't have heaven, you got hell. That's just the bottom line. There is no middle ground where you say, I'm not going to choose sides. You
Hmm.
did choose sides. So, in order for them to be redeemed, God gave each one of those who chose Him a spirit mate. And she would be, and I did it this way because they're always talking about, all my life, I've heard for every downfall of a man in the Bible, there was a woman, Samson and Delilah,
Hmm.
Adam and Eve. John the Baptist got his head cut off. You know, they go on and on and on that we women ain't nothing, okay? And I said, these women are going to be the beacon for these children of the fallen angels. Now, if by chance some of those Nephilim did not choose to walk with God, they became the demons.
Hmm.
And the woman that would have been their spirit mate now becomes a sanction mate. And the sanction mate is the mate with the archangels.
Okay.
And that's deliberate because a demon knows that he can't defeat an archangel. I did that battle in this last book.
Hmm.
They
Yeah.
know they can't.
Yeah. Yeah.
That war in heaven, where there's a great war in heaven, they know they can't defeat Michael and his army. And
Hmm.
I tell them all the only power Lucifer has is the power of persuasion. He
Yeah.
can make you think, but he ain't got nothing going on for him.
But and you in this story too, you kind of bring us a little bit back to the basics too, for for those those Sunday school lessons that we learn,
Hmm.
about Adam and Eve and things like that, and just the things that you just said in this series, you kind of highlight it and you break it down to the simplest form where we can understand. Like for instance, we know there's a heaven and a hell,
Hmm.
and we kind of understand how each one of them was formed.
Hmm.
And even after all of the chaos that Satan had caused,
Hmm.
God still gave us a choice. I mean, he didn't take it away, but he still gave him a choice. And he even gave Adam and Eve a choice too, which I thought was just like the way you wrote it, I thought was such powerful because, you know, our world started with them in a sense.
As
And
far as we know, as
it's yeah,
far as
yeah.
this Bible tells us.
But how we come to, how we come to be and how we have all of our choices and why we go through certain things. And I think after I read that, I was talking to my sister-in-law, Shannon. I told her
Mhm.
about this too, but I think I forgot to tell her that we were going to be on talking today. I may text her in a minute, but
Okay.
um I said, when you talk to a lot of people, men, for sure, especially, you said, whose fault was it? Adam and Eve. You go through these conversations all the
And they
time.
say it was his fault.
They say it was Eve's fault, but my brother didn't say that though. He
The
said,
Bible says it wasn't
I,
her fault.
I know, but we sometimes interpret the Bible the
Yeah,
way
they do.
we wanted to for that. So I was surprised because I asked this question to my sister-in-law, but I asked it in front of my brother, and he spoke up, and he did not say it was the the Eve's fault. He
Woman's
said
fault.
it was because God gave Adam the instruction, and he was supposed to lead Eve. So I
Yes,
was like,
absolutely
okay,
right.
good one, good one, good one. But I think, I think some of those things, like when we learn, sometimes depending on whose instructions we're under, some of that stuff gets glided over because it's so simplistic.
But the thing is, though, even with that, the Bible says, study to show yourself approved. And
Yes,
if you open up the Bible, it specifically says the woman was deceived, but the man sinned.
yes,
But
yes.
here's the good news for Adam and Eve. The Bible also says that those who perished before the law, which was Moses' law, would
Hmm.
not be held accountable to the law because there was no law for them to live by. They disobeyed God. Adam was the first one to sin. And he was so far out there, like, he just called the woman. He didn't even get that chick no name.
So yes, yep, 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 yep. But I think that's one of the things I love about the series is because I can pick up a book and I'm gonna always learn something where I probably have been taught before, probably read before, but really did not understand it. I just kind of thought I did, but then
Hmm.
it gave me another way of thinking of it. And I've read the series. It's been a minute since I have, dived into it. And some things just come to me. Now, I may not remember all the stories exactly, but there's something I picked up from something that I took away with me that I will
Right.
always have with me.
Hmm.
Yeah. So
Hey, Miss Iris Bowling on
yeah, I
here.
wanted to
Hey,
take a
my
minute to
friend.
welcome some more people in here. So we got Tacola has checked in, Miss Mary Buckner has checked in, Cheryl is in the house. We got of course Sinquetta, she was here earlier, and then we got Kelly is in. We got of course JB was here earlier. Myra has checked in. Hey, hey, hey. We got Darlene, Antoinette Gates has checked in. Um, let me see, Iris Bolin and Iris Rossi. I think I hope
Hmm.
I'm not
Hmm.
messing it up, but she has checked in. I think I said Cheryl Brooks. Cheryl Brooks is in here. And okay, so that's it. So guys, if you're just joining us, we are at the book bar and we are talking to Miss Eva J. Brock, and we are diving in particularly to this latest release, which is Samuel the Archangel. And guys, if you follow the series, everybody has been waiting on Samuel. So we are so happy to have him now. But I didn't want to tell too much of the story because I wasn't sure where everybody was at in their journey. But I do want to, for those people who may not know, I've never heard this before, I wanted to have them introduce them to Miss Eva and just kind of tell us a little bit about her journey and how these all came to be. So thank you again for joining us. So now, Miss Eva, the another thing I wanted to ask you about with this series now, as we're reading, we wanted Samuel, but we wanted Samuel a long time ago. I think we wanted Samuel when we first met him. But what was the importance of, this is a two-part question. So I wanted to know what's the importance of how you told the story, because we started with the Spirit Mate series, right?
Hmm.
And so you introduced us to the Sanction Mate series, but you kind of entwined them. And I asked the question before, can you read the Sanction Mates without having read the entire story?
I don't think you could read either of them completely in order to keep up with what's going on because they intertwine even their storylines. Brock is the leader of the spirit mates, but he'll pop up in the sanction mates. The Walker brothers, their main role is in the spirit mates, but they're also in the sanction mates. So they're crossovers. That's
Mhm.
why I always put out the list, the order in which to read them.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, you could do it, but you're going to be missing a whole lot. You're not going to get the real picture of what I'm saying.
Okay. Okay. That's easy now. Now let's go back to Brock, because Brock is really what started it all for us, right? And
My
he is,
daddy.
yes, but he is all throughout this series, right?
Oh,
So
absolutely.
Okay, so let's talk about Brock. Okay, his role. What is his intended role? When you started the series, you started with Brock's redemption. So what is his role and his catalyst for merging these two worlds together?
According to Enoch's book, the first fallen angel to seduce a woman was by the name of Samhaja.
Mm-hmm.
And he basically convinced the other fallen angels to go along with him. And the scripture said that there was a day when the sons of God saw the daughters of men, and they were like, them some fine chicks. And they decided to take as many women as they want. Since Sam Jaza was the first one to keep not his own estate,
Mm-hmm.
Brock had to be his son because he had to be the first Nephilim born. Sam Hodger, in my story, the fallen angels and the Nephilim have the ability to meter out their sperm if they're paying attention. How
Mm-hmm.
much they meter out, that's how much power they give them. Well,
Mm-hmm.
Sam Johnson wasn't watching, and he gave Brock all that he was. So Brock is not only the first Nephilim, he's more powerful because Samhaja was one of the first six archangels that God had called into existence. It's like the fourth or something, fifth, I think. So when he gave Brock all of his powers, Brock is more powerful than all but four archangels. So he's kind of an amalgam, for lack of, that's what his daughter says. He's an amalgam. He's kind of an amalgam that, although he's Nephilim, he's this is a powerful dude. And his saying is, I can take you out, and I'm saying that nicely because we're on the air, without laying a finger on you. And he really can. If he thinks it, you go. He could vanquish you. He can snatch your heart out and still make sure you're not dead. It depends on how pissed off he is and who you are. Um, so he needed a spirit mate that could be able to handle his um his powers.
So would you say that was by design? You at first you said that Sam Joshua wasn't paying attention, and we're gonna talk a little bit about that same scenario when we get to Brock. That my next question is with Brock. So
Michael
okay,
told him, you should have been watching.
right. So Sam Joshua wasn't writing; he was just getting it in. That we
He
just
was
don't
getting
that
it in. And
right.
what they could also determine which sperm cell hit the egg. What they wanted in my series was to bring forth all male
Hmm.
descendants so they could go back and fight this war again. Because
Hmm.
keep in mind, only a third of them failed. Two-thirds still stuck on God's side. So they
Hmm.
thought if they could rebuild an army, so they
Right.
did boy, boy, boy. Everything born was a boy.
Hmm.
Everything born. Half of them went with God and Michael. The other half went with Lucifer and their fathers.
Hmm. So, do you think that was he just not paying attention, or was that by design?
Could have been by design.
Yeah, I think so.
Could
I
have
think
been because you know
after
what?
having
When you
read,
getting it in, you're
right, but Samjaja went on to have
31 sons.
right, not all by the same woman, but he went on to have
No, we couldn't have it by the same woman because remember, the woman dies.
yeah, died after that. Yeah,
The
and I
woman
think that was
dies because a human woman can't give birth to an angelic creature, for lack of a better term.
yeah. And so and I think that was another thing that what infuriated God so much is because they knew better and they were still going on to do this. So all of those women, and it wasn't just Sam Jaza that was doing it, it was all the ones who actually had you know.
Azazel. You
Yeah,
know, Azazel was the goat. Azazel is
yeah,
the goat in the Bible.
yeah.
So I mixed biblical and imagination.
Okay.
Now, Brock goes by Raphael, but his name is actually Fred Brock, which is my daddy.
Mm-hmm.
And his spirit mate is Jody Brock, which is my mama. This was a memorial to them, too.
What a wonderful memorial too,
They
because
could forever live on.
yeah, yeah.
But
Now,
then Midnight, you in my books too now.
yeah, well, I know, and y'all, I'm in the book, and I'm crazy because so she wrote me like I am. I'm crazy. Uh,
Midnight has a spirit mate. He doesn't know her name. He say, they like, your wife name, your woman name Midnight. I don't know her name. She won't tell me.
oh my gosh, but yeah, I do love how I think Brock and Jody is a beautiful tribute to your mom because they started it all. And then you have a couple of other family members in this series too that you give tribute
Just about
to.
all of them.
Hmm.
Noanna and Hezekiah Walker was my mother Jody's parents.
Okay.
And in the book, they're Jody's parents.
Yeah.
Smitty was actually my father's father, plus he had a brother named Smitty. Then
Hmm.
Lucinda was my father's mother. All my ancestors, I'll put it that way, all my elders are in this book,
Hmm.
are in this book series.
Yeah. So okay, so now we learned about Semjaza, and we know that he was the one who fathered Brock. And so now let's fast forward a little bit because this is important, guys. So follow me here. So now Brock and Jody have finally, Brock has found his spirit mate, and there's a ritual. Before we get to this, let's talk about the ritual of when the um when they find the sanction mate. It's a ritual that happens when they become the sanction mate. And tell us what happens after that ritual is done.
You
Explain that
mean the
to us.
blood
Yeah,
exchange?
the blood exchange, and then what happens after that.
A lot of people might get turned off from this, but it's almost like vampires.
Hmm.
They have to take their spirit mate's blood, and their spirit mate does battle with that portion of the demon that still lives within them. And it isn't until that demon is killed that they actually have a way to the redemption that Jesus planned. And when asked why I did it that way, I had to go back to the Bible. I said,
Hmm.
there was no redemption without the sacrificing of blood.
Hmm.
Even before Jesus, it was the animals.
Hmm.
Yeah. So it made perfectly sense to me. In order for them to be redeemed, there had to be a blood exchange.
Okay.
So no
And
redemption without the shedding of blood. That's what the Bible says.
I think that is profound too, because we know about how Jesus died on the cross for us,
Hmm. Hmm.
and it was him shedding blood for us. But in the sanction, I mean, not the sanction mate, Brock, the Nephilims, they really, you know, God favored them, but they could not necessarily go before him like Michael could.
No,
They couldn't do that. And so,
Michael was the intercessor for them.
right, exactly. So I think, with this right here, it was important to say that. Now,
But now keep in mind that Jesus said, that's why I keep telling y'all they're not the same person.
mhm,
Jesus said, no man comes to the Father unless he come by me. He
right.
said, when you pray, you tell Daddy I sent you.
Mhm.
So these Nephilim, or watchers as they called,
Yeah.
they got to go through Michael to get to God.
Cheryl
She'll
says
say her
Brock is
book
her book babe. Her
X
what
is her
ex,
husband.
oh my gosh,
You
you guys,
forgot about X and her.
I did for a minute there, yeah. But it's so many in here to so many of these guys in here to love, and it's so many of the girls in there too. But you immediately get captivated by the guys, you
Oh,
know.
most of y'all can't stand the spirit mates because y'all jealous.
No, I was
I
jealous
get a
of.
lot of
I'm,
that. I
I'm,
get a
no,
lot of that.
let me tell you, I literally, y'all, don't judge, but I had not that I dislike Veranda, because I never was that one that was all bash
Verinda.
Veranda.
Yeah, y'all
But
didn't like Verinda.
but who was it that it was one of the it was she wasn't a spirit mate, but it was one of the
Fancy
Hezekiah's
mates.
brother. No, it wasn't that. It was the one who he said, Michael said, you're the keeper of my heart.
Oh, that she was a spirit mate.
Or
That's
was she a
Symphony.
Symphony?
Symphony is
That's
Ram
who I had an issue
best
with
book
her.
too.
Because I wanted to be the keeper of his. Yeah, Kelly and Cinquetta may remember this, but we had T-shirts made. Remember? And we said we
Yes, you
was the
did.
team.
They
Yes,
were purple.
I should have put that on today. Oh my gosh, guys! I wish I had remembered that. Well, we had some T-shirts made, and we said we was the keeper of Michael's heart. That was who I
Yeah,
had.
y'all didn't like y'all didn't like none of y'all sure couldn't stand Verinda. She
Yeah,
just makes
Verinda.
you
Verinda. I think because I don't know. I did not dislike her, but she was Michael's person, and Michael was
I
my.
think that what was hard for you guys is that it was drawn out emotionally and I did it for a purpose.
Mhm.
Because whatever happens to that child, if they don't get the right help, whatever trauma happens in your childhood, you don't get the right help,
Yeah,
it goes into your adulthood.
but
And that's what happened to her.
we didn't find out about that until after she got introduced to us. You know, it was some scenes with her and Michael before, and I think we found out about it because then I think that was the first time it was in one of her books, or when they were talking about her, is when we first met Samuel. You introduced us to Samuel in one of those books with
No,
her.
the first time y'all met Verinda is when y'all found out that Smitty, even though he'd been married to Laverne for 40 years, he'd never stopped loving Verinda.
Right, but then what in that book was it when we did told the story of what happened with her when she was, I think it was a scene by the sink or something.
That was in Donnell's book.
Okay.
That
Okay.
was in Donnell's book when she told the story how she had been raped and raped and raped. Nobody loved her. Nobody. But that in itself was Lucifer's ploy, remember?
Right,
Because
right.
Lucifer knew all along that she was Michael's woman.
Mhm.
Michael just wouldn't look at. He wasn't watching. She
Yeah.
was waiting for her to get a certain age.
Most of the watchers was like that too, you know. And it wasn't until got his that they started really, closing in on who theirs was, you know.
Mates were.
Right. Now, I just wanted to ask Iris, you have a question here. You said, "Oh my gosh, which book?" I'm sorry, because I'm kind of like got a little delayed here. So tell me what scene you were talking about, and we'll see if we can't give you which book it was. So yeah, just put that in the comments, and I'll bring it back up. They talking about my book. Those were some funny scenes in there, right? Those were. What Brock did with his brothers. Oh yeah, the park that one scene. And guys, we're not talking about the actual featured book. We're kind of leading up to this. I just because if I stayed on the book, I might give away too many spoilers, and I was trying not to do that. But we are going to go back to the book because there are a few things in here I do want to highlight for for myself and for those who has read it. But there were some scenes throughout this series with Brock. And that one scene that was in the park, that was really, really, really a memorable scene in
I
there.
don't think that's the one she talking about though. You
No?
talking about what Cheryl Brooks is talking about?
Yeah.
Cheryl Brooks is talking about when Brock let them demons in to get his children.
Oh no,
Remember
she
when
said the
he?
one in the park.
Oh, the
Remember the
park.
one in the
Oh,
park?
okay.
Yeah, when I think that was when he first kind of met his brothers,
I
or
missed. I missed the park.
yeah, yeah.
Cheryl, that was a God move all the way, wasn't it? Adam and Eve.
Mm-hmm. Yep, yep, yeah. So yeah, there's a bunch of okay. So let me see. Redeeming on the blood. Oh, okay. Yep, maybe she was talking about this. That was in this one happened in Brock's Attics. If those you're talking about the one where the sanction made the exchanging of the blood. That was in Brock's Redemption when we
Yeah,
first
that's in
met.
every book.
Yeah.
Every
It,
time
it
they
is.
met
And
their
each one
mate.
of them is a little bit different too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So let's see.
And
Yep. And
they are absolutely impotent. Remember that? They're all impotent without the
right,
blood
right. Yeah, 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 yeah. That's true.
and without their sanction, without their spirit mates.
Mm,
Because God wanted to make sure they didn't do what their fathers did.
exactly.
So they were impotent.
Yeah. And so getting to let's stay with that point right there. So Brock when Brock and Jody gets together, then they started to have, this old Ram was a good one too. He was good. And then I think yeah, this one all of these ones first the Watchers in the Spirit Mate series when you read those you just absolutely fall in love with all of those guys. You just do.
But
They're
them archangels ain't no joke either.
that is true.
Not a single one of them.
That is true. Uh
Although they can't handle Lizzie.
Yeah. And that's what I want to get to because she's an intricate part in the book that we're featuring. So now Brock has him and Jody start to have these kids. And the first they have twins, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's Hannah and Lizzie are the
Lizzie and
firstborn.
Hannah. Elizabeth
And
and Hannah.
yes. And so Elizabeth comes out before, she's a little bit older, few seconds older, minutes older, right?
But tell how she comes out though.
Yes. So this wasn't the one where uh no, you may have to tell this so I can tell it right.
Because they don't want to hurt their mother. They said we don't want
Okay,
to hurt
yeah.
our mommy because the labor pains is just killing Jody. And she calling Brock all kind of names. And the babies decide that they don't want to hurt their mama no more. And they want them to see how powerful they are. So they vanish from the womb and appear in Jody's arms. They do not pass through the birth canal. And Brock and Jody are both dumbfounded because they were not expecting that.
Mm,
They were not expecting that his children would be so powerful, especially with Brock knowing that he had to claw his way out of his own mother and killed her.
hmm
But his children was like, no, we're not doing that to our mama. So they just vanished and appeared in her arms.
And then when was it when he realized that it was Michael who told him about the powers in which he interchanged with his kids?
That was after, remember, Michael, they were babysitting the kids on Michael's island. Michael has an island in the Bermuda Triangle.
Hmm
There was a what you call them two parties, a bachelor party and the what's the bride's party called?
That bridesmaid,
The shower,
bachelorette,
whatever,
bachelorette.
bachelorette going on, and they were sharing together. Two of the watchers that live on the island with Brock, two of their brothers were two of the grooms, so they wanted to go. But the third brother that was already at the party had his arms around one of the other brothers' spirit mate. See, the thing is that they don't know each other's spirit mate. They
Hmm
don't even know their own spirit mate until their paths cross.
hmm
And while they're sitting there waiting, Miss Nosy Elizabeth, she touched Michael's leg And she tells him this finna be real ugly, Grandpa. She's like 4 or 5 years old. And she tells him, look. So he looks back to where the party is going on. And when he sees what happens, he jumps up and he screams so loud, the entire constellation starts careening downward. Gravity loses its grip. The stars are falling. Time doesn't know what to do because his instructions is to keep moving and never turn back.
Mm-hmm.
Little Lizzie reach up and freeze everything. And Michael looks down at her when he realized, because he's still too upset to handle it. When he looks down and realizes that this little child did it, he said, you can let go. I've got myself together now. So she lets go. He goes handle the situation at the party, which he is not too pleased at all, because even though they don't know their mate or each other's mate, Michael has put a spirit in them,
Mm-hmm.
a taboo. So if they run up on a woman that's another watcher's mate, they get this sensation and we got to get out of Dodge. This boy overlooked it, so Michael and Brock were none too pleased that this went down like this. Of course, the brother whose mate it was, he went all in on his brother for putting his hand on his woman,
Oh,
even though he didn't know it was his woman. So when Michael gets back to the island, he takes Elizabeth and he vanishes because he wants to talk to her in private. He realizes this baby got some kind of power here. And he goes over to Brock's Island and puts up a shield so nobody can hear it. And then he sits on the bench and crosses his arms and he says, show yourself. And next thing you know, she's sitting on the bench with her arm wrapped around the back. She's like, whoa, it feels good to stretch out my legs. Because
no.
she's a grown woman. She's a grown woman. And he says, spectacular. Spectacular. His grandbaby. She's just awesome. Lizzie is my favorite character.
Yeah, she is. But I liked Hannah too, though. I think together they were something else. Those kids were something else. I liked both of them. I liked all of Brock's kids because they were so entertaining as they were being born and even after they were being born. So uh it was just I loved all of his kids. But now let's stay with Lizzie
I know
here.
some of y'all, I'm not calling no name, is not
So
ready for them kids to grow up.
So okay, so there are a few people, and I'm not going to say any names that we talk a little bit about the book, and not necessarily all the people that are here either, just some other people.
Hmm.
And I was so excited that Samuel's book was coming out because I was looking forward to it too. And I have been waiting on the kids, but I
Hmm.
said, okay, she's giving us Samuel, so that's good. They was like, I'm not, nope, I'm not, no. Tell her I'm not coming back until she do the kids. So when after I read the book, I said, oh, you might want to jump on the train now because she about to do something, with them. I think when you left, I don't remember which book. Y'all forgive me because I can't remember all the names and the titles of the book, but this is the one where Lizzie, they had to fight, and Lizzie was, whooping tail all over the place.
That's Battered Road to Restoration.
Right.
When
Okay.
those demons showed up and
Yeah.
all the kids were at the
At
school
the
by
school.
themselves,
Hmm.
and Lizzie stepped outside. She put a shield around all of her little cousins and her siblings. And then she was like 8 years old. And
Hmm.
once she put the shield up, she stepped outside it as a 21-year-old, take no junk from nobody, kick butt. And the spirits, those demonic spirits, thought they could get away with it because you couldn't see them.
Yeah.
Nobody could see them. And Lizzie, her hair went flying everywhere. And she said, flesh for flesh, bone for bone. The next thing you know, all the kids could see all of them. And she told them, get them. Don't worry, I made sure they can't touch y'all. kick their butt. And that's what there was some fighting little kids.
And you left us there, and then that's when everybody was like, okay, all, we had tunnel vision, and all we wanted was the kids.
All you wanted was the kids. All
That's
you wanted
all we
was
wanted
the kids.
was the kids. And so
But
now,
there was still some spirit mates that needed to be matched up.
yeah,
And I kept trying to get um them older before I went into Samuel's.
yeah. I I think some of us, we knew that, but I think, some of us is just, we selfish. We want what we want.
And then when you got it,
Okay, and so this is what I want to do. I hate to do this, guys, but this
this is a spoiler.
this is a spoiler. This is a spoiler, but I think I want to ask Miss Eva. I want to ask Miss Eva's the take on the readers when they found out who was going to be Samuel's sanction mate.
Oh my God. Where's Tacola? Tacola, what was your reaction? Is she still out there?
I don't know if she is or not. She might have popped off. She hasn't made a comment in a minute. But
Another one, Marie Simmons, she said,
oh, here she was. Here she go up here. She said she was shocked. Okay. Hey Shannon. I got Shannon on, so she's out there now.
okay.
Yeah.
Um,
So
a lot, Felicia, if you haven't read it, come out.
well, yeah, I'm Felicia. I'm trying not to do anyone, but this one is a huge one, and I think it was a catalyst to most people. I think nobody's seen this coming. So, but it's a treat. So if you have not read the book, maybe step out, just because I want you to experience this, because it was really a good thing. But then you might be like, it might be one of those what the heck moments when you read it though.
Marie Simmons said she finished about 1 o'clock in the morning, and she said when she got to the reveal, she said I had to put my face in the pillow and scream because I didn't want to scare my mom in another room.
Yeah,
I almost called you. I almost called because we did not see that coming.
yeah. Okay. Well, we're gonna try. Maybe I'll try. Yeah, I just don't want to spoil it for you because I feel like that was one of the
That's the best. That's the.
that's the best
I mean,
part of the
after I
book.
told the whole story, you know how if you're only getting a certain part of of a person's life, there's so much missing.
Hmm.
That's why it was important to tell the Great War in Heaven and how Samuel actually became the archangel of death, because prior to Adam and Eve falling in the garden, there was no need for the archangel of death. But God knew that they would fall.
Hmm.
Nothing surprises him. If you remember in before the beginning, when he first called Samuel, he told him, he said, I got an assignment for you. I will
Hmm.
tell you at the appropriate time. And once they fell, he had to discipline them. That's when I walked you through what happened in
Hmm.
the garden.
Hmm.
And then he called a meeting. Job said there was a meeting. The sons of God got together. And that's when God told Samuel what his responsibility was. Then you go through all these eons of him being hated by everybody. Everybody hates the death angel until they're that sick person and want some relief. And
Yeah.
I really believe that.
So I'm gonna say for him, I think what attracted us so much for him, because he had like this kind of a melancholy story when he was going through the series where he was meeting up. He had the one friend, uh,
Gail.
yeah, he had Gail, and so I'm not gonna say we, me. So all the time when he was meeting up and having these meetings, going to visit Gail and everything, I wasn't sure what was gonna happen, but I was happy that he had someone that he could, have some downtime with, because I know even though he had a purpose, he
Hmm.
was bringing back souls after they, had left the body. It was sad. After a while, you
He
just
was a sad person.
yeah.
You hear more about him in all of the Archangel books,
Hmm.
mainly starting with, uh, well, in Michael's book, him and Michael fought over Verinda's soul or spirit
Yes.
because he was
Yeah.
trying to take it, and Michael's like, "No, that one belonged to me, Bo. You got to
Hmm.
bring that one back."
Yeah.
But Samuel isn't as powerful as Michael, so of course Michael beat him. Then
Right.
you
Right.
got Samuel's book when he realizes once Samuel gets the mate, Samuel realizes all of his brothers have mates,
Hmm.
but he could never have one because if he touches
Yes.
a human, their spirit jumps out of their body. And he's so lonely, he goes into a depression. One of my readers told me, "You're the only author I ever read that made me fall in love with death."
No, but it was very easy to do that. I think most people who know him, you fall in love with him because, my gosh, he's such a sweet person, because how he interacts with Gail, and then all at his party, I was like, oh my God. And I didn't realize that Michael had kept him from the kids all of that time, but all of the nephews and the nieces and the all of those kids, they loved him. They
They
absolutely
absolutely love
loved
him. They
him.
absolutely love him.
Yeah, and I,
Because, and like I said, my brother died in October of last year. And my brother kept telling, he's on oxygen. He couldn't hardly get around. He couldn't hardly
mhm,
walk from here to there. And he kept telling me and Emma, "I ain't got long. I'm getting ready to go where my daddy is."
mhm,
And he said, "I go to bed at night and I ask God, please don't let me wake up in the morning." You get to that point where
mhm.
death becomes your friend,
Yeah.
especially if you believe in your heart that it's not the end, but the beginning. That song says, if we've been there, when we've been there 10,000 years, bright as the morning sun, we have no less days to praise his name than when we first got there. Ain't that something?
Mhm, mhm.
This life at max 80, 90 years. Although I don't know who in the world, I don't be here till I'm 90.
And I know, but yeah.
I already got my ticket.
So when we see him at the party, they bring him at the party because, okay, so all of his brothers that he was, congregating with in this story, everybody knew a little bit of something, knew a little bit about
Mhm,
something, and I think even they had a soft spot in their heart, and they did not want to see him suffer anymore, right?
mhm.
And so when you brought him to the party and they said it was for him, and then Gail came out, I was like, wait a minute, what is she about to do with him?
You didn't remember?
I know I remembered her, and I remembered she got married, but too, and I
You were
thought,
thinking she.
I didn't know this is when everything opened up for me. I'm doing it because I'm reading, and I know he's gonna get his person, but then you
Because
staggered
at the
us.
front of the book, you see her walking toward him.
I know
And
we
she
see.
says, "If you could see me, I've come for you."
Yeah, but still, like you kind of played with us a little bit in the book, because she would this person, while they were in heaven, this person was giving him advice, and saying these little sweet nothings to him,
And he
but you
never could
always
see her face.
right, because you always preference seeing her back. And
Hmm.
I said like after the second time she showed up, and you referenced that, I said it's a certain it's a certain familiarity with this person, but because I'm seeing her back just like Samuel is seeing her
Hmm.
back, I'm not,
Hmm.
I don't, I know this person, but I don't know who it is.
But here's the thing: the reason you felt the familiarity, however you say it, is because throughout the entire series, both Sanction Mate and Spirit Mate, I kept dropping all kind of clues. I
But
kept,
you be having, look, let me just say this to you about your book. You and Iris, y'all don't mince, y'all don't waste words, and you always leaving crumbs. But when I tell you, y'all, both of y'all always have a lot going on in the books. You know what I'm saying? So it might, from time to time, if you don't read over and over again, you might miss something. You might miss
okay,
something.
let me answer a couple of questions.
Yeah, I
Cheryl,
left this one up here for Sabrina, for you to answer that question, and then I'm gonna
okay.
bring up the other ones.
Hi, Sabrina. It is fictional, but most of my books is that I've wrapped stories in the Bible around the characters. So when you're reading the book, and what I've started doing with the last maybe 6 or 7 books, at the recommendation of a couple of my readers, is putting the scriptures in the back so you can
Mhm,
see where I'm coming up with what I'm talking about. For instance, like in Samuel's book, and Michael talks about, because see, all we've ever been told was that it rained 40 days and it rained 40 nights.
mhm,
In one of the other books I brought out, yeah, it did rain 40 days and 40 nights, but the water stayed there for over a year.
mm,
They couldn't get off that boat because the water had to recede and the earth was saturated. Also, in this book, I pointed out where when we read our Bible and we don't really read what the Bible is saying, is that the Bible said not only did the rain come down from heaven, but inside the earth is rivers of waters, and the fountains within the earth burst. So as the water is coming down, the the water inside the earth is shooting up,
mhm.
and that's how it flooded that fast.
Yeah.
That's how it flooded that fast.
Now,
So I tell all these stories, but I tell little um I don't little tidbits that people don't really pay any attention to. For instance, like in this book, I reveal that Adam never named Eve until after they fell. He
mhm,
always called her woman,
mhm. Yeah,
like she didn't have no name.
yeah.
It wasn't until they fell and his eyes were open and he said in Hebrew, "You are Hava," which is Hebrew for Eva or
Mm,
Eve. You are the mother of the living. But he never paid no, he never thought nothing about her to even get a woman a name. And you know that's cold because God told him to name everything.
yeah, he did. He named those animals though,
Yeah, but didn't name the woman and wouldn't even talk to her.
and didn't pay no
And then
attention.
he gonna tell her maybe you learn to keep your mouth shut.
But I know. So Sabrina wants to know where should she start, and this is where I have a trouble telling people uh, about starting because some people get anxiety. This is a Sabrina. This is a big series. I think we up to about 40 books. I think now over
Between
40
the two between the two
between the two
series,
series.
I'm up to 44, I think. And I was so thrilled when Midnight told me the other day, she said, but you ain't telling the same story twice. So the series could keep going.
Yeah, yeah,
It's not being repeated. I'm not repeating anything.
yeah. That
I'm
is
just
true.
walking through the Bible. I'm walking y'all through the Bible. That's all.
Now, Sabrina, I would say Brock's Addicts because that's where we all started.
No, Brock's Attic is the
I mean,
name
not
of
Brock's
my
Addicts. I mean Brock's Redemption. Brock's Redemption. I'm so sorry. Brock's Redemption. I'm about to throw you off.
Well,
Brock's Redemption.
Sabrina, are you a e-reader or a paperback?
Okay. I'll get she'll bring it there. And here's another question from Cheryl.
Brock was elevated in forsaking all else when love is ordained.
Mhm.
You remember that? You remember Jared's ex-wife? She divorced him
Oh,
from
oh
the
yeah,
man.
yeah, yes, I do. Yeah.
And then went after 30 years and he found somebody. Then she want her husband back, although she got another husband.
Hmm. Yeah. Okay. She says she's going to start with yeah, start with Brock's Redemption, but let us know if you're an e-reader or a paperback reader. Sabrina. Uh, everybody's telling you they're going to tell you Brock's Redemption.
Brock's
Yeah.
Redemption is the
Okay.
first.
Hey,
And at the end
Loretta.
of Brock's Redemption, I believe it tells you what the next book to read.
I think you do list it in there. Okay. Yeah, I know, Tacola. I mean, this you got to read the books with kind of care because
What
she
what what did she say
who
to Cola?
Tacola.
What was?
You said, right, I'm trying to see what the crumbs were. Like, how picking up, we call crumbs when you picking up all of the avenues of the story. The
Oh,
first,
I know
yeah,
what she talking about. She talking about the hints that I was leaving.
yeah, yep, 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 yep. Hey, King, how are you? So happy that you are out there, joining us. How are you? Have a good weekend. Well, she said, I guess I need to start reading. Midnight, I might have to read. Oh, yes, you will have to use your book buddy journal for this one because
It
there
keeps
once you
going.
started, yeah, you gotta write down little tidbits that'll help you along the story. But I promise you, Sabrina, you will absolutely enjoy this series.
I want to also say that my books are not preachy. Well, it is in Battered
Mhm.
Road to Restoration.
Right,
Either
yeah.
Pastor Floyd, which was my uncle,
Hmm.
he's the spiritual leader on Brock's estate. And
Hmm.
in real life, my uncle Floyd was running with the Blackstone Rangers back in the day.
And there's some good parts about that in there too, y'all. Like
And
really.
while he was on the road, while he was running with the Blackstone Rangers, God did the same thing to him that he did to the Apostle Paul.
Hmm.
And when Floyd got to church that Sunday and told them that he'd been called to preach, my grandmother Snow Anna stood up. This happened in real life. She stood up and said, "Boy, don't you be playing with my God," because she knew her son. She knew her son was a gangster. She knew what he was. He knew what he was. But God can use anybody.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
My old pastor, Pastor Mosby, who's also in this series, he used to say, I wouldn't give a plug nickel for somebody who ain't never done nothing in their life.
Oh, here she go. This is Erica checking in. She's making a comment to Cola. She's too powerful for any watcher. She definitely needs a sanctioned mate, and the only powerful unmatched one is
She
yeah,
kind of giving it to, she tried, that kind of says it.
yeah. But when you read, well, you know what? When for me, when you start reading the story, I want to get like, oh, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? What is she doing? What is she doing? I'm so excited about reading it. You do have to kind of almost sometimes read a book like that more than once. So Sabrina says she is an e-reader. So yeah, she said because like all of us, we don't have no space for any more books. And
I know that's right. I
yeah.
know. Remember, I did, like I said, I gave you a whole bunch of books.
Yeah, yeah. I had read a couple of them too. Well, gosh, we won't even talk about my space in my house. But anyway, guys, look, we have kind of went over our time, but this has been really, really good. But if you guys have a few more questions, Miss Eva, you don't mind staying on for a
I
few
do
more
not.
minutes.
And also, there's quite a few in here that I don't know.
Okay.
If you're interested, I will gift Brock's Redemption in ebook form to whoever inboxes me. If you look at the top, I'm Eva J. Brock on Facebook. Inbox me your email address and I'll gift the first book to you.
Okay. And you know what? This is a good point for you to just tell everybody how they can reach you. I was saving it to the end, but why don't you go ahead and give them your how do you want them to
Reach me on
get in touch with
Facebook
you?
in Messenger. My website is in construction right now. I'm trying to copy off of Miss Irish Bowling, right? And 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 we're dealing with trying to get it set up.
Okay.
So in the meantime, the only way you can reach me or my email address, I have quite a few readers who are not on Facebook, but they reach me through my email, which is evajbrock@yahoo.com. I'll put it,
I got it right
Sinquetta,
now.
can you do it?
Uh-huh. I got it.
Not Sinquetta, I mean midnight.
Yep. Eva J. Brock at yahoo.com.
Right.
Okay, there we go. So or either Messenger and Facebook. She said thank you. She's saying thank you. Let me see what
How did you determine which archangel after Michael would be mated? That's a hard question. I think it wasn't so much the archangel as it was the sanction mate, and I wanted to give Kay Young her
oh,
archangel, only because Verinda's name in the book is Verinda Young. Kay is her sister that they didn't know they were sisters. So
mhm,
since Kay in real life name is Kay Young, I was like, Kay, I'm gonna give you a I'm gonna give you an archangel. And then one of my readers inboxed me because she liked the archangels, and she said, "Can you do one on colorism?" She said, "I'm the darkest one in my family, and some of my family members have really treated me bad over the years." So I said, "Okay, Anita, and her mate is Jeramiel."
mhm,
And I just the sanction mates and even some of the spirit mates are my readers.
mhm. Yeah. I think that was another treat too, reading them and seeing some of the people that you already know in the series too,
Hmm.
and how you matched them up. That was kind of a treat too when you read through the series.
And then my sister Renata, of course, she was Samuel's friend in heaven, and he thought that she was his sanction mate. And
Hmm.
my sister died, and I knew that she was ready to go, and I was all right with that. And when we went in her hospital room and they told us, come on, because there's nothing else we can do. And everybody was crying and I mean, they were acting normal. I'm the one that's not normal, okay? But I walked up and I grabbed her hand, I kissed her temple, and I leaned down and I whispered in her ear and I said, now you go on with God, girl. I got your kids and grandkids. And I kissed her again and I turned to walk away and the buzzer went off.
Mm,
Everybody started hollering and screaming. I was fine because I'm like, that girl, all right. So then I wrote Beyond the Shadow of Death in memory of her.
hmm.
And she kept asking Samuel to come get her, and he wouldn't come because he thought she might be his sanction mate. And then I brought her back in this book. I
Mm.
keep my family alive. I keep my
Yeah, and I think it's a wonderful tribute to them too. All while entertaining all the rest of us. So yeah, she's speaking about like learning the people that in the
Mhm.
books. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
but Antoinette is the preacher's wife.
yeah. So, oh my goodness, Miss Eva, I cannot believe it's already after we've already went over our
I
time, but
know. I've
I do.
enjoyed it though. I hope you
Yes,
guys have
me
enjoyed it.
too. And for anybody who wants to know more about you can join Miss Eva has a Facebook group called Brock's Addicts.
Right.
So if
One
you
word.
guys, yep, so all one word. And so if you guys want to just stay in tune with her until she gets her website up, go over there, join the group there. Reach out to her Facebook Messenger for anything, and then definitely if you want a copy of Brock's Addicts, or you can email her at evajbrock at yahoo.com.
Yahoo.com. That's it.
Yes.
And
Okay.
put in the subject Brock's Redemption, so I'll know what it's about. Because I'm telling y'all now, I've got 31,000 emails that I haven't opened yet.
Oh,
I just don't have.
yeah, might want need a little bit, but there are also too, just to let you all know, this is an ebook copy only. It's not a
Right.
paperback. It's ebook copy only. So if you have an e-reader and you want a copy of Brock's Addicts, reach out and get it. And I'm telling you, I want to know what you all think about it. I'm telling you, you're going to be hooked. You will not be sorry.
But I do want to warn them that even though it's intertwined with the Bible, my watches have expressive language, okay? I'll
Yes,
just
they do, especially Seth Raphael.
they have expressive language.
Oh
But if
my
you
God.
really read your Bible, they got expressive language in there too.
Yeah.
They have expressive. They just won't preach it.
Mm.
We were doing a Bible study. I told Eric, I said, read that scripture again. David was so mad, he said, I'm gonna kill everybody that piss on the wall. Now and that's in the Bible.
Oh, you know what? I did sleep on this. So I did want to tell people, like when I said earlier today, she is not just an author of a terrific series. She is also you know what? I know we run out of time, guys, but I gotta because I don't even know how this happened. This kind of just fell in our lap. So everybody is, talking about this series. We're reading it, we're loving it. And then next thing we know, we're in a Bible study. So she's our
Yes,
Bible study teacher.
yes. That's because I think Kelly was the first one to ask me. She's after reading many of the books, she said, can you and I get together and just have a Bible study? And I said, yes. And then we started. And then when Erica's mother, Karen, read The Wrath of Seraphiel,
Mm-hmm.
she inboxed me and said, I wish you had been my Sunday school teacher. So
Mm-hmm.
I told her, I said, well, me and Kelly do a Bible study. Come on and join with us. And then I said, well, let me put it in Box Addicts and see who all want to come in there. And we don't just read this Bible. We've been
Yeah,
in it 8 years, and we're just now getting to First Samuel.
yeah.
Because in all you're getting, get an understanding what this Bible is saying. Get an understanding who Jesus is. And I give you a hint. He ain't got no blonde hair, blue eyes either.
Mm, mm.
But you don't know it if you don't get in there and read that for yourself.
Yeah, that's why I think it's good for them to join the Brock's Attic so they can kind of stay up on what's doing. And then I don't know, you might want to just mention, after a while, because there's so many new, there might be a few new people in here that might grasp onto this. So you might want to put that in there, after a
Okay.
while in the Brock's
And I
Attic.
also
Yeah.
write a byline for the Port of Harlem. I do a once a month or once every 2 months. And I just did an article that he's getting ready to do since it's Women in History
Hmm.
Month. I took him back to some powerful women in the Bible who didn't take no stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, and let us know too how to get, because I think that person or that group shared this chat as well. And I thought, because you wrote an article, and they mentioned the article in there, and I was like, okay, I don't remember this book, but it must have, now that you're saying it, it must have been an article that you wrote in there.
Right, in the Port of
Okay.
Harlem magazine, yeah.
Okay.
And it's free online.
Okay. All right. Maybe that's something else you might want to drop in, because I didn't know about that.
Oh, I'm sorry, boo.
No, no, ain't no sorry. I just gotta, I gotta get over to the Bronx Addicts a little bit more, because there's things happening over there and I'm missing out. So yeah, so guys, yeah, join the Bronx Addicts to stay in touch, because and then check over there every now and then, because apparently things are happening over there. Hey, hey.
Yes.
All right.
It was good to see Shannon Gordon here again, your sis. Hadn't
Yeah.
seen her in a while. Desiree Brown, there's a Desiree in my series. It was my sister-in-law, Desiree.
Hmm.
I made her a character. She passed 30 something years ago. And I
Hmm.
made her a character. So, and it's spelled just like you spell it.
Yeah. So Desiree, if you have, I don't know if you've picked up the series or not, but if you haven't, and I don't know if you've been here for the whole time, reach out to Miss Eva, get the first book in the series, an ebook copy of the series if you have not already started it, and then jump on this bandwagon with all the rest of us. Hey there, Miss Maisha. Have a good night,
It was good
everybody.
to see you, Maisha. Thank everybody. Midnight, thank you so much for doing this.
Oh, it was
It
so
was such
much
a
my
pleasure.
pleasure. Yeah.
I was sick all day. I was like, Lord, let me feel good enough to get on here.
Listen, I was praying. I was just like, look, and cause I said, if I can just get 30 minutes of her, I just don't know how long to do this because it's a long time coming. And guys, I was really good, intentionally good about not diving into particulars of the book because it just, released recently, and I feel like I thought I was about to go there, but I didn't.
I'm
Uh,
glad you didn't.
yeah, I am too.
Also, next Saturday, I'm going to be in Gulfport, Mississippi. If
Okay.
anybody's in that area, stop by.
Okay, all right, all right. But yeah, once you guys, I might have to bring you back after everybody has maybe we'll do like a Zoom if everybody's schedules permit, and then we can talk about the whole, the whole thing in there.
Okay,
Um
stay quiet. I'll get with you.
okay. So yeah, so everybody, you're all welcome. Have a good night. Miss Eva, thank you so
Thank you
much for
so much,
spending time
darling.
with us.
Y'all sleep well.
Right? Have a great evening, great weekend. Be safe and always, always be kind. Till the next time, guys. We'll talk to you soon. Bye bye.
Good night.